Hey everyone, today I'm joined by MacKenzie. Gray is the co-founder and CEO at ZenPilot, and they have helped thousands of agencies systemize their businesses, boosting efficiency and therefore profit. Gray is my go-to guy for anything around processes, so I was very excited to get his perspective on the future of agency operations. He's built an awesome team of process-focused experts who crush it with ClickUp, and you are guaranteed to pull some nuggets from this one. In this episode, we discussed why having well-defined processes is crucial for agencies, how AI can enhance and speed up processes, why you should separate strategy from implementation to avoid limitations in your business, and more. It's fitting that today's episode is brought to you by ZenPilot. There are a lot of tools out there for agencies to manage projects, but any project issues aren't usually caused by the tool, they're from your own processes. ZenPilot helps agencies implement their project management tools while streamlining operations, so your team can move from chaos to clarity. You can see for yourself at zenpilot.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome MacKenzie. It's easier than ever to start an agency, but it's only getting harder to stand out and keep it alive. Join me as we explore the strategies agencies are using today to secure a better tomorrow. This is Agency Forward. Why is it important for agencies to get processes right now more than ever?
Yeah. So I think the natural buzzword here is AI. That's where a lot of this stuff comes back to. And so that certainly is one of the big reasons that I think nailing processes matters, just because you start building up that database of like, hey, here's how we do stuff. Here's the results of when we do it this way. And especially if we're tracking it as well. So not just processes, but we're tracking what we're doing. That is creating the training data for your baselines and benchmarks and automations and improvements and optimizations down the road. So yeah, I think, and I don't, like there's a lot of reasons process will always matter. So I don't know that it's outside of the AI piece. I don't know that it's tremendously more important today than it has been at any point in the past. But I think it's always had a high level of importance, and it's always been undervalued in a very creative profession.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the easiest ways to not only reduce your cost internally, but and this is something I've noticed with agencies that I've been working with, if you can get a great result, having the process that shows how you get there means you can replicate that result. But so frequently, I see agencies just create a process for the sake of saying, I have a process, but it's like, it was for a mediocre result. And now, yeah, you have a process for those new hires to follow, but it's like, what they're going to get mediocrity, right? Like,
yeah. What have you seen work best for because this is something that I'm constantly trying to preach to our team at ZenPilot. And I probably over preach this to a lot of clients as well, is, hey, that feels great that you got a process written down, documented, you got your template built in ClickUp or whatever. That's awesome. But we pay very little attention to the results and what actually came from that. Have you found anything that works super well for getting the team to not just go along with it when you suggest it or remind them that, hey, let's look at, is this actually working or not? And let's go improve it. But to do that proactively on their own.
So yeah, it really comes down to, or from my perspective, right? It comes down to picking what is that like milestone or benchmark that we need for a result before we even consider making it a process. And so like, you guys have the prioritization, the process prioritization.
Yeah.
I think I called that framework.
Matrix.
Sure.
Yep.
And so like, that's a great way to list out like, okay, this one's super painful. Like we need to find a way to do this. For a lot of those processes, it's like, we're doing them so frequently because they're just standard. Like it's not a creative output that we're looking for. It's just like to get us to that creative place. And so for those, it's like, yeah, let's make the process. But it's when we say like, okay, let's make a great landing page. It's like, okay, well, can we model success first? Do we know what needs to go into a great landing page for it to actually, deliver? And it's not just us going looking for, some blog posts and podcasts that talk about what it is. It's like, can we do it? Do we have the necessary skills, and expertise to be able to deliver? And once we have that, it's like, okay, so we know we need to hit this mark. We've done it. Let's do it again. And now we create a process from that. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a great point. So like the definition of done, that's part of any process. Like what is success here? And then everything's aimed at how do we, are we hitting that goal? And then how do we improve that?
Right. It's almost like having a pre-qualifier for like, you can't make this a process unless what? And then we just outline that from the start. And hopefully helps.
Right.
But I think that's going back to like what you're saying. AI is probably the big, I don't know what the right word is, like modifier for the need for processes today. But it's also because you can do things so much faster with AI. That's like if you don't have the processes, it's really hard to keep up on other spots. And so, I guess how have you seen that influencing agencies?
Yeah, I think that. So actually, I was just on a great, Jimmy Rose at Content Snare. Content Snare is like a intake. If you're working in client services and you do any type of intake, data collection, whatever else, great platform. Weirdly enough, this is like a little tangent, and then I'll get back to your question. But I've known Jimmy for a handful of years. He was kind of focused on the agency space originally with a startup. Then he started targeting accounting firms, and so our tax prep firm, they sent this 22 page long Google Doc that we had to fill out every year for that kind of stuff. And I was like, man, guys, there's a better way to do this than just in this doc that's super painful. And we could probably keep some of this data saved. So we're not doing it fresh every single year. So you guys should check out Content Snare. They used it. They talked to them, signed up, used it. The intake process was great for me. And then I was like, okay, we're going to use that. So now we use that at ZenPilot. So you work with us. One of the first things you'll fill out is the agency operations assessment. And so that'll all be done in Content Snare. This is not a plug for Content Snare, even though it's a great tool. But I was on with Jimmy last night walking through how we're using Content Snare and some of the results and everything. And we got done and he's like, hey, we just recorded all that. Would you be willing to leave a review of Content Snare? Would like love that on like G2 and sites like that. It's like, Jimmy, I love you. If it's not too time intensive, like, I'd be happy to do that. But I don't have a whole lot of free time that I'm dying to go to review sites and, have my eyes just bleed looking at all the terrible UX of review sites. He's like, oh, don't worry about that. We've got this custom prompt that takes the whole transcript of everything that you just said and spits out the answers to everything that needs to go into G2, each of the questions that they'll ask you from your words. It's going to take us 5 minutes to edit, and then we'll send it to you. And then you can just copy and paste it in. I was like, oh, that's a really good process. For you already had somebody do all this work. It's going to be super painful if they have to go start from scratch and try to type it all back into whatever these review sites are. But for using them, that makes a ton of sense. So there's all kinds of applications where what Jimmy found before that worked for them was nobody fills it out if we tell them to do it. What works for us is we need to give them the answers to the questions that they're going to ask, and then we'll actually get the reviews that we want. And then because of having that process, then it was like, hey, how can we take AI and speed this up and move it there?
Right.
And so I think there's so few processes that I look at with our clients and don't see immediate applications of AI somewhere along the line. And that's very, very difficult to do if they don't have anything documented or in place right now. But when they do have the starting point, there's so many opportunities. Like there's almost everything. It's like, oh, I'm no AI expert. I'm not even like that great at process development. Like I've done a lot of it, but I'm not the world's premier process person. But so if I'm connecting this, like certainly your best people can connect a lot of this stuff super quickly.
Yeah. I think what's great about that like testimonial process is that most people suck at leaving testimonials. And so if you can actually frame everything the exact way you want to be seen, and then you just got to get someone's blessing on it, it's like, way easier.
Yep.
But adding the layer of AI building it for you because you know what you're trying to do. Now we can just format everything. Like,
right.
helpful.
Right.
So you guys being ZenPilot, partner with ClickUp. pretty early. And I think that's what's led to a lot of success for you guys, and being able to have that platform you can anchor to, right? You're kind of niche down. Um, I guess I'm curious, what are some of the challenges that you found with having being like a primary part, like having a single primary partner that you work with?
Yep. Yeah. So the that decision came about. We were migrating off of building our own PM tool for agencies. And so we were looking for the standard then, and the standard now is still like, we want to service agencies on top of what we think the best fit tool for most agencies most of the time from a project management perspective is. And so it was Asana, Monday, and ClickUp in the top 3. I think Teamwork was 4. When we originally ran through it, we still run through that exercise every year, and try to figure out, hey, what do we think is the best? We know that we want to be super deep on one tool. So I can say not just, hey, you should have processes live where the work gets done and you should have visibility into these metrics. But I can actually take your whole setup and plug it in and say, look, and here's what it should look like very tactically. And you've got this hard edge case, and like, we can solve that for you very, very quickly. So I knew I wanted that deep expertise. At the time we picked ClickUp, nobody knew about them. Like 90% of our clients, they were coming to us for agency ops help, and we were saying, hey, use ClickUp, and introducing them to the platform. And today that looks different. And so as ClickUp has taken off, what we've figured out from a marketing perspective is that everybody tries to solve their operations problems with another software. Like, it's this tool, it's that tool. And the reason for that, one, it sounds like the magic bullet. Like, I just saw a post this morning, like, hey, if you're drowning in work management stuff, project management tool is what you need. Check out Asana for whatever. It's like, why? So you can poke around with the work. Like, your problem is you're not getting the work done. It's not a tool, but that's where all the marketing dollars go. The millions and millions of marketing dollars go towards the SaaS tools. So we've switched our marketing to be very much focused on what people think is the solution. I'm trying to figure out how to run EOS in ClickUp, or I'm trying to figure out how to, set up ClickUp for my agency and make it work. I'm trying to figure out how to do these process templates or these automations or hook these two tools up. And that is not the full picture, but it's a part of how people try to solve it. And so that's relatively effective from a marketing perspective. But what that then creates is a lot of eyeballs, but a perception that you are the ClickUp monkeys. You're the people who know ClickUp super well. And the business that I want to grow and build is, we know how agencies should operate. We can walk your team how to deliver exceptional client outcomes profitably over and over and over, and increase team health at the same time, along with your productivity and profitability. That's the business we're building. ClickUp is just one of the tools that we deploy towards that with a ton of expertise. So I'd say that's one of the biggest challenges, is then trying to reset the frame when folks come in with a single perception. And there's all kinds of other, oh, you guys are exactly what I am looking for. Do you do this on Asana? That's what we're running on. So, well, nope, we won't. And so that's, you lose deals because of that specificity. And that trade-off's totally fine with me, because for every one of those deals that you're losing, you're winning other deals because, hey, I've got other people who I could talk to about operations as well, but you guys are super deep on this one tool and have demonstrated expertise there. So there's pros and cons.
Yeah. Probably worth licensing your model to some other agencies so they can do it on the other tools. You don't even have to worry about them.
I've thought many times, so I've got some friends who run like very niche Notion consultancies or whatever else. And, there's definitely that entrepreneurial scheming that goes on mentally of, we should take all this same exact stuff, same exact principles, and have, Zen Monday and Zen Asana, like whatever it is, on top of other tools.
It's something I've been reading a lot about lately, just separating the strategy from implementation, and realizing that, so the strategy is going to stay the same regardless, right? It's the same overall concept. It's just, how do we plan to actually get this done tactically through the implementation? And so, it's an option. But going back to what you're saying, but people think in the tool That's always it. I've started, I mean, this was like a reframing for myself years ago, but anytime I'm trying to learn something new, work on a new project, I approach it with mindset, then skill set, then tool set. And so, because if you're not, man, the number of times I would get in a conversation with someone to sell HubSpot and they were like, this is going to solve everything. Like, no, it's not. Like,
Yeah.
promise you, it won't. Um, but when you get back to like a step back from the tool set, is do you have the skills to actually be able to use this tool? Like, do you know, how to
Yep.
market, how to set up workflows? Then step back from that. Do you understand why you're doing it? The mindset piece, like, is this completely different if you're approaching it from one direction from another? And so I think just framing it like that has really helped with getting people on the right track much faster and realizing that the tool won't solve their problems.
I don't think I've ever heard that framework before.
There you go. I think I made it up.
100%.
So. It's one of those things where I'm pretty sure I made it up, but someday I'm going to like read something from like the 60s and someone will have said it. Like, but
so close.
But yeah, it's been pretty helpful. And I had the story I like to use, maybe for listeners, this could be helpful for you guys too. I decided I want to learn how to juggle once, and don't know why, it just like popped in my head. And so I grabbed some socks, right? And I'm just like practicing. And I would do it after my kids went to bed and stuff. And I moved to upgraded to like potatoes. And I was doing it over the couch so they wouldn't make a lot of noise. But my wife came downstairs and was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm learning how to juggle. And she's like, why? Why not? Right. But she said, well, the kids actually bought you juggling balls for Father's Day. And so now I have like some urgency, right? I got to learn how to juggle. And so I figured it out like actually pretty quick. It's way easier than you would think. But then I open this gift for my kids, take out the juggling balls and just start juggling. And their little eyes are like, boom, like what is going on? Then they picked up the juggling balls and couldn't do it, right? They thought the tool was what helped me do it. And it's like, no, guys, I actually spent time building up the skills. The only reason I had the skills is because I watched, I think it was Jim Quick has a great documentary, like a tutorial on YouTube, how to juggle. And so like it completely shifted how I was doing it. Then I went, got the skills, and then had the tool. And it's like, oh man, perfect.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's a great illustration. I do think in any other context, you've got like pickup or rec league sports for adults. Mm-hmm. And anybody who's actually any good or serious, they see somebody come in with all their stuff's completely brand new. They just bought all the stuff. And right away, everybody recognizes like, this is an imposter. This is not a real, like they don't have the skill set. We all get it there. But then none of that, like in the workplace, like we all do the same thing that we do when we don't know how to play sport. We go get all the gear and like show up like a complete rookie. We do the same thing where it's like, oh, if I just had that tool, like that's going to solve it. It's so easy to recognize in other contexts and so hard to apply in the day.
Yeah. So you guys are anchored pretty well with ClickUp. But one of the, I think, awesome benefits of that is that your entire team understands ClickUp. And it seems like you guys have been doing a much bigger push on the team creating content around ClickUp. Because it's popping up all over my feed. LinkedIn and everything. And it's like great value because you're getting it from different perspectives, but it's all like really promoting this. I guess separate from just marketing and having the entire team talking about this and pointing people back to ZenPilot, like what other benefits are you seeing from just having a team that's so, I don't know, like they are the experts in this. And so,
right. Going back to the mindset piece, I think that's maybe the biggest hidden benefit is there's the through and through mentality across the team that if we can't figure it out in ClickUp, nobody in the world is going to figure it out in ClickUp. And that is like ClickUp's largest global customer got pulled to us for help designing how their workspace needed to get architected. And so there's all kinds of like client stuff that reinforces that. But the fact that everyone has a chance to participate in putting out their perspective, what they're learning, I think that's probably the biggest hidden benefit of it is it creates that environment where there's a lot of pride in the work and the craft. There's a downside to that too, where it's like, whoa, let's not get lost in the sauce in terms of, hey, we figured out this crazy thing in ClickUp that, two other people in the world care about. Like that's not, I think then that creates the problem of, hey, we need to figure out how to simplify this for the average company to have success with it. But it does create a like humble and hungry is our first core value. And so it's not we're not a bees get degrees kind of team. It's very much like everyone owns their craft. There's an element, and we have a whole conversation about why this is bad from an efficiency or profitability perspective. But there's an element of a lot of perfectionism on the team. And like, we're going to be, the craftsman who can nail this stuff in the most elegant, refined way. And there's a lot of times where it's like, hey guys, we got to take that hat off and we just got to brute force out here's the quick and dirty version of this that's good enough for right now. But I would rather be having to remind the team that, hey, this doesn't have to be perfect right now in V1. In fact, it can't be perfect in V1 than the other way around. We're constantly trying to push people to, hey, we care a little bit about what we're doing. And I really think for most of life, there's not a perfect balance. Like it's very hard to keep the teeter-totter completely level. I think every business is either growing a little bit too fast or they're growing a little bit too slow. And you kind of make a decision about which way do I want to over-index. And so I'd rather over-index on the perfectionists that need to be told to, hey, hustle it up a little bit. And here's where you can actually nerd out than the other way around.
Yeah. I think there's probably some benefit as well where like once you've made it even if you've made it for like a single client, right? Learning how to do that with your team, saving it in your own account as like a template to be able to refer back to probably leads to some other like innovations and faster, development for like different problems that you're facing at some point too.
For sure. Yeah. All the hardest problems then can turn into, because of this super niche, super tight focus, that all becomes part of the asset that everyone's going to benefit from more down the line.
Yeah. So that's probably a huge one. Excuse me. So speaking of this, like being able to create the processes and things like that internally to be able to use later, at the roundtable last week. So AI and agency operations roundtable hosted by ZenPilot. For everybody who didn't attend, strongly recommend you guys check those roundtables out. But I was presenting. I introduced a concept of mine called the efficiency innovation continuum. That seemed to resonate quite a bit with people. Like most of the people who followed up with me after were just talking about that. And it was the idea that like you can be either really efficient and sacrifice some innovation, or you can be really innovative and sacrifice efficiency. I didn't think it would, like, I used that when I was running an agency, right? To know where do I need to move my team on this scale right now based off our goals, based off what we have going on. And it really helped me like focus, like, no, maybe we move away from efficiency because we're trying something new and I need them to get the craziest idea out there.
Yeah.
But this seems like something like, because I got so much feedback from it, it seems like there is a huge piece to this that agencies really care about. I guess from your perspective, what are you seeing that as far as the efficiency and innovation on this continuum, how are they treating that?
Yeah, I'd say there's a common mistake. Totally agree with the principle. I think Blair Enns calls it the inefficiency principle with the O instead of an E. So it sounds like it's an actual word, but he's making up a word.
It's another one where someone created my idea already. Is that what?
It's already out there.
Yeah. All right. There you go. I got to go find him now.
Well, that's exactly the right. Those two things are at odds with each other, for sure. The common mistake that I see is, a lot of teams are trying to be efficient. I mean, back to the point from earlier, like they're trying to be efficient before they've actually figured out the right innovation to make something work better. And there's also teams who are trying to be innovative when the solution, and this is like the common mistake that we make at ZenPilot, and that I feel like we're constantly correcting for, is trying to be innovative when the solution is already so much better than what's out there. And now it's like, hey, let's be efficient. Let's get it into people's hands efficiently so that they can go use it. So I think it's just knowing like what's the context, and that's a whole skill. It's like juggling. Like, how do we identify what situation are we in? Do we need to be more innovative, or do we need to be more efficient with this solution right now to serve our own business, to serve our clients, and to serve the broader market best?
Right. Yeah, I think that. Okay, so I know I didn't make this one up. I've heard multiple people talk about it. I don't know who to credit, but it's the idea of doing more than better than new. And so, like, once we have something that works, now we just got to do more of it. And with doing more, we're collecting more data to be able to understand what works, what doesn't, and then we can make it better and really hone in on that. Then let's do something new. And I think that's also something that you see a lot of agencies will do one thing and then move right to doing something new. It's like, let's get some more reps on that, right? Like, you have this benefit as an agency to get reps really fast. So why don't we lean into that? Be the best at this, understand this better than anyone, and then move on.
Yeah. So there's just like 4 habits that we try to teach every internal agency, like ClickUp champion / ops, head of delivery, whatever, folks in general. You get daily spot check, weekly roundup, monthly analysis, quarterly review. And for most teams, that quarterly review should be the cycle where we look at what are the types of tasks and deliverables that we're doing most consistently. And then let's find the delta between what we had estimated, what we actually like, what's driving a lot of our costs. But those rhythms, and I don't, if you're a super early stage agency, you don't have enough data every quarter to make those, to go innovate necessarily. It might be, hey, every 6 months or something. And if you're a 400, 500 person agency, there's probably tons of data that comes in every month, and you can, you're going to have a faster cycle of iterating because of what you said, which is how many reps do we get at each of these things. So it's not necessarily that for most teams, quarterly is the right frequency, but totally fine if it's a different frequency. But there's got to be some rhythm about when do we actually look at this. And there's some, like you're saying, there's some time to just say, hey, forget it. We're just doing more. And then we'll figure out how to do it better and then make it new.
So we talked about this a bit earlier, but I'm curious for some of the other ways you're seeing AI kind of revolutionize the project management space, like either within tools or just within how people are thinking about things.
Yeah. So ClickUp's got their brain feature. I think Notions is just called Notion AI for now. Everyone's got like a lot of the same features. Hey, give me a quick digest, or whatever it is. Some of the things that I'd say there's like there's the what is working. And so the summary type information is generally working pretty well. That's obviously dependent on a team having habits of actually, do you close out your tasks when you're done with them? Do you update stuff on time? Do you add the right stuff in? But if it's in there, they're doing a pretty good job of giving you a summary of, hey, here's, it's basically your daily stand-up or your weekly stand-up or whatever. Here's what got done. Here's what's stuck in the process. Here's what, what's coming up next. So some of that reporting stuff is going well. I think both Notion and ClickUp. Actually, I use a journaling tool called Reflect that does this well as well. But you can interface with a document or a wiki or something and ask whatever questions, and it feeds it based on the like very, very standard stuff. But that is really useful for a lot of teams. And there's the flip side, which is the stuff that I think everyone's hoping works better and hasn't really played out yet, but is exciting to anticipate working better. And that's things like automated time tracking. Everyone's after automated time tracking, and no one's nailed that yet, despite a lot of promises. Automated task scheduling. So Motion is maybe the most well-known one today for their implementation of it. And even that is like, in a one-off environment, like in your situation, Chris, I could see that working super well. And then you plug in a team and you've got different priorities, and there's just not enough of that. Like it's just not far enough along in its implementation to make it work super well across a team. So there's stuff like that I'm super excited about coming up in the AI and PM space. That's not really paid off yet.
So I do use Motion for myself, but we also set it up with a client who is using ClickUp, and just we use his app to, when a task is created, and ClickUp pushes it to Motion, and then we just organize it for them. They weren't actually using like the time tracking, project management inside Motion, but a team member could sit down and see their task list for the day based off priorities and all those other numbers. And so that I think was helpful as far as just getting people to sit and go to work. And I'm really wishing, I interviewed Chris Dreyer from rankings.io this morning. And he talked about an awesome time tracking tool that was like automatic and stuff. And just, I don't know, it's looking at what you're doing and knows where to bill and everything. And I already forgot what the name of it was. I wrote it down somewhere.
Was it Timely? Timely is the one that I hear get the most.
I don't know.
Most common.
Love the find notes. I'll follow up with you. We'll put it in the show notes for this one. But yeah, there's definitely, like, I think with AI being able to get a task in front of the right person at the right time based off where it is in the process and the flow, and like even just if it knows the process and says, hey, you just finished this, like now we got to go present it to the client, right, for a first look or something like that, where it's even kind of coaching you through the next steps in a way that like you could go build all of that out, or it can do it for you and just like explain that. I think it's going to remove some need for project managers in general.
Have you seen, do you know who Peter Levels is? Like this bootstrapper, builds a lot of developer, nomadic, kind of like indie hacker, building this project right now called therapist.ai. And so it's a, AI generated talking head that you can talk with, and it's transcribing what you say, ingesting it into its own processing, and then giving you the answers trained on whatever. And so I was watching this demo that he put together yesterday. I was like, man, we are not far away from somebody making like PM.ai or, whatever, like, hey, I've got these 4 clients that have these issues, and, I've got these 3 things I need to push across the finish line. Like, what order should I do these in? Right. And I hate talking heads as an interface, but there's got to be some better, faster interface that happens there. And it'll definitely be able to.
Also, even like when I was delivering web projects, we would use Gantt charts and everything in ClickUp to be able to show kind of the flow. Like, okay, once we have this stage of the outline of this page, then we're going to move into the wireframing, and the client had visibility, and we could just show where everything is. But like, if I could have AI generate that for me, all I have to do is feed it the scope and everything else, and it's like, here you go. It's like, now we're in business. The therapy side. So I've mentioned this on a different podcast. I was using a tool called wave.ai. It's a business coach for like $20 a month. But I found the issue is that because I knew it wasn't a person on the other end, I had no accountability. And so I just didn't care. And I started skipping weeks. And then next thing you know, I'm paying $20 for nothing. And so I'm just, okay, let's cancel this. But I think for certain things, there's still the value of a person being there, because you may never be accountable to robots until they actually take over, and Skynet's the thing.
Right.
I think some PM.ai. I'm starting to lose my voice. PM.ai is probably
Go register it.
Yeah. I'm gonna get that right after this. So let's I guess, what's the 80-20 for project management, right? Like, what is the one thing that an agency could be doing today? If they get this right, everything else is going to there's going to be like a lasting impact.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I have a couple different thoughts on what the 80-20 of project management is. The first place that I point a lot of people is like, hey, just get all your work down somewhere. Like the amount of hidden work in most agency teams is wild to see how much happens that doesn't ever get tracked, talked about, documented anywhere. And then the conflicting, or not conflicting, but like if I could pick a couple of things, just getting everyone working on the same way, like in the same methodology, is huge. It's wild how many teams there are, especially the teams that have grown through acquisition. So this is like 100, 600, 700 person agencies who we're working with. And they're like, man, we don't even try. Like this team can go work in whatever system they want. This team can go work in whatever system they want. Like, oh, really? Like, why is that? Is that because designers do better in this tool and developers do better in this tool and, creatives do better over here? No, it's just whoever's leading the department and cared enough about a tool. Like there's no rhyme or reason or piece about it. And it's like, okay, well, show me how you roll up all the data. It's like, well, everyone's got their own P&L. And there's just a lot of inefficiency there. Yeah. And in the cases where we've had the chance to get in and work with them and bring that all together, it's the most profound, like ROI results. One, because such a large scale, there's really big outcomes that are available because of that. But just because getting everybody on the same page and working off of a unified system creates way more alignment in everything that happens. And it's way easier if someone's out and someone needs to pick something up or someone needs to check. Like so many, the reduction in meetings by itself is like the biggest impact. And in some of those cases, that's with a really, really simplified, hey, we're not going to try and do, time estimates for everything. And we're not going to try to have every aspect of the process like scoped out or anything. We're just going to get like to the 80-20 point. We're just going to get the core pieces in here and make sure that everyone's got it and everyone's working out of the same view every day. So I think that's that one by itself that's kind of cheating. Like, hey, get everyone working in the same way. Cause that's like 14 different things probably need to come together to make it happen. Right. But I'd rather have a team. This will obviously resonate with you based on your background. Much rather have people executing a plan altogether than have the perfect plan that's, no one's actually executing.
Definitely value and just going and doing. Because I think even like when we implemented ClickUp, even through your guidance, there were a couple things like we don't have it. We focus on 10 clients at a time max. And so like we kind of restructured ClickUp just based off that because we weren't going to run out of workspaces or anything. And so it kind of shifted how we were looking at it for campaigns and everything. But we wanted to figure that out unless we jumped in and just started doing it. So yeah, definitely value in there. All right, I got two more for you. The first being, and I've modified this one specifically for you. What is the best operations book you would recommend to agency leaders?
Ooh, that's a good one. I had a really adverse reaction when I first read Traction. So that's one that comes to mind just because EOS has gained so much traction in the agency space. And if someone's not running on a system like EOS, that's probably one of the most helpful things that you can do operationally. I actually think this is not at all built to sell sticks in my mind. Not at all an operational book, but a helpful mindset tweak for me. You've got all the output side, and then you get the input side. And if you can simplify the inputs to the 80-20 rule, like if we can make the inputs a lot more similar. Hey, clients look like this. We're specialized in this area. We offer our services in these couple ways. Everything that happens downstream of that operationally becomes so much easier. So I think that's not at all an operations focused book, but that principle really gets driven home through Built to Sell. That might be one of my recommendations to an agency owner specifically. just say, hey, let's tighten up what we're allowing people. What are the parameters around engaging with us? And that will simplify everything downstream.
Right. I'd heard a piece of advice that you should have your business valued every like 1 to 2 years, purely not to sell, but just to have someone else look at it and say, this is how much we would like probably pay for it, right? This is what someone on the market thinks this is actually worth. And it gets you to shift how you're actually thinking about your business to make it more valuable to someone else, not just yourself. However, if you're building a lifestyle business and stuff, then by all means, go ahead.
We went through that process a year and a half ago, and tried to apply that. We're like, hey, how does this? What insight do we get about how we're building this, and like what are we actually building in terms of enterprise value? And parts of that were really helpful to go through. I felt like other parts were it's be interesting to do with somebody. Like I would do it with somebody else next time. Because you get your comp ranges. Hey, your business is worth somewhere between 5.1 and $7.3 million. All right, that's great. Now, like, show me the comps that data is coming from. I understand the multiple range here is somewhere between 3 and 6. But what are the like? Show me the comps. Show me what moves got made here and there. And so, who you're working with is certainly part of it, but it was really helpful in shaping some of the thinking.
I also like the idea of the one chart business, where it's like if you could just have that single chart that shows you everything you need, right, to really know if you're on track. Like that's the dream. To simplify life like that. But all right, last question. Where can people learn more about you?
ZenPilot.com. And LinkedIn are the two best places for sure. The newsletter is great. I think the PM benchmark has been helpful to a lot of teams from the website. And then my LinkedIn, I'm always happy to connect with people in the agency space.
Awesome. All right.
Could I ask you one question on the flip side, on the theme of one chart businesses? How much of that do you think is HubSpot? Look at HubSpot's Google search, Google volume, Google Trends, ClickUp, like in our business, the same way. I don't know that it totally applies, but like there's a lot of agencies that have grown purely off the back of, hey, HubSpot's grown in popularity.
Yeah. I don't
know if those are one chart businesses. They're still other pieces of that, but
I guess if I was a like HubSpot onboarding agency and that was purely what I did, I could easily get that down to probably to a single chart with a couple different axes playing into the chart, right? Left and right. But I could definitely get that in basing HubSpot's growth versus the number of people coming on to HubSpot shows how many people I can potentially work with. I could see that getting there. Yeah, it's a fun mental exercise to figure out what's that critical number for your business that if you could just get that mapped out would paint the picture of everything you need to see. Simplifies meetings again. So, but Gray, appreciate you coming on. I love everything you guys are doing at ZenPilot. I get super excited when I do see all the content and like everything else you guys are doing and just testing out new stuff, new marketing approaches. And I'm a fanboy. And so I'm going to keep following you guys. I'm looking forward to seeing everything keep growing.
Yeah, appreciate that. Well, thanks for the opportunity to come on today, Chris.
It's good. That's the show, everyone. You can leave a rating and review, or you can do something that benefits you. Click the link in the show notes to subscribe to Agency Forward on Substack. You'll get weekly content, resources, and links from around the internet to help you drive your agency forward.